Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. And by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to AndyMark.com and keep your team inspired. First Updates Now is brought to you by Twitch. Fun is now a Twitch partner and offering some awesome subscriber-only benefits. Subscribe today or get a free subscription each month when you have Amazon Prime by linking your account and clicking subscribe.
Bam. All right. We're live. We did it.
Woohoo!
Yeah! All right, guys. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the minding the break there. We're going to be talking about a bit about Power Up and kind of all the cool stuff for it. So we'll start here. Tyler Olds once again from Fun. I got my buddy Ryan Donio.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tyler. Good to be back in Indiana.
Dude, you and I go really far back too, man. So like back 2002.
2002 was my first year.
We were both digital animators back then, which is kind of crazy to think about where we are, because you work on trains.
Yeah.
And I do marketing, so
I know. It's like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it worked out. So why don't we go around the horn real quick? Christine, start with you. We'll go Christine, John, Sky, PJ. Just introduce yourselves, what team you're from, that sort of thing.
All right, so I'm Christine. I'm a contributor on Fun. I do Let's Draw Robots, and I'm on Team 125 out of Boston, Massachusetts.
Hi, my name's John Fogarty. I'm from Team 1102 Making Magic, and here is
Bilford Leverett, alumnus of Team 1293, back in South Carolina, back with the team started with 15 years ago, doing short sleeves.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
My name's Sky Leak, out of Hatton, Northwood, North Dakota, up here in the frozen tundra, but not quite as cold as Canada, I guess. And yeah, I've been on here a couple times.
All right, I'm PJ Lewalski. I am from Team 910 initially. Now I'm a free agent. I'm also a referee, and I do that a lot at 70-plus events over 7 years. So got a lot of rule opinions.
So free agent, what's that mean? You're looking for a team or what?
Not actively, but I mean I'm open to offers, I guess.
Fair enough, guys. Just get your offers going. He takes cash, check, whatever you want.
Does he take bits?
I take
no Bitcoin? Oh, come on, dude.
Only the best alt currency.
But we take bits, guys, so we appreciate that as well. Hey, guys, we do have a couple cool things for tonight as well. Like I said, we'll talk about Power Up. We're going to take your calls. If you're in Discord and you don't have it, first off, type exclamation Discord. That'll get you the link. You can hop into the call-in queue. We're going to bring you right on the show to talk about what your thoughts are about the game. So just go ahead and do that. And speaking about which, we're going to get to our other host, Mike, is actually in the queue, so we're going to get to him in just a minute as well. But with that said, we do have a couple cool giveaways as well. So if you're part of our last show, you could get entered to win a Robo Rio. Christine, get a little bit of feedback from you. And you can get an opportunity to win a Robo Rio in chat a little bit later on, as well as we do have from 1720, which is Ryan's team, here as well. We got some cool. Actually, why don't you talk about them real quick? What are we giving away for that?
Yeah. So we're giving away this product called the Badhawks. This was developed by the FRC team I'm with now, 1720, the fixed gears. And so,
hold up there.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta get it on the webcam.
This is badass, guys. If you haven't seen this, it's pretty cool.
So it is a little portable voltmeter that basically you plug right into the Anderson leads of the battery, and it'll give you your voltage right on the fly. It comes with a cool little carabiner thing, so if you're on the drive team, you don't want to haul around your battery beak necessarily. These are pretty handy to have, so definitely check them out on AndyMark's website.
So you can win that, and also the winner will be entered for the RoboReel giveaway on Tuesday as well. You'll be a finalist for that, so all you got to do is just hang out a bit. We're going to have a keyword to type in a little bit later on, which I'm going to ask Ryan to think of. Don't say it yet, though. Okay. And we're going to give that away. So with that said, guys, let's bring on, I want to bring on first our good buddy Mike Stark, who's witty in the chat. Mike, you there?
I'm here, guys. How's it going?
What's up, Mike?
It's good to talk to you. I haven't been on a show with you guys in a while.
Yeah, that happens, man. But we're happy to have you here. So, Mike, I want to start out with you. You saw Power Up a little bit later because I know with your work schedule, man. But what are you thinking about the game? How are you feeling about it
Okay,
so far?
so I have one question because I was at work today. I work 7 to 3:30. So when I first tuned into the broadcast, it was right in the middle of Woody's monologue, I guess. Could somebody fill me in on what that was all about? Because I just kind of caught bits and pieces of it. I'm not really sure what
It might have
happened.
to do with that high score of 420, if you ask me. Now, does anybody want to fill in? Because I'm definitely not the best person to do this. So somebody else fill Mike in.
I was the projection booth.
Nobody knows. Okay, well, we can move on. So anyway, so my limited, I'm just going to preface this. I think this happened exactly last year too, because my very limited exposure to the game has been watching the game animation like 2 or 3 times, and that's it. So I'm way behind everybody I'm on the call with right now. So my initial thoughts when I first saw the game animation for the first time was this game is way too hard to explain to friends, to grandparents, to potential sponsors, to people that are just coming in off the street or in your schools that are coming to watch the competition, to kind of explain what's going on. When you look at sports, you see, okay, you got to put this ball in the hoop, this puck goes in the net. This, it's pretty basic. I just feel like in the past couple of years, these games have just been pretty advanced to explain to the non-first people. That being said, what I do like about the game is that this is really going to stretch first teams. That this game has a really good chance and will be able to separate those that are good and those that are great. And Christine and I were talking a little bit off air, so maybe Christine can talk a little bit more about what we were talking about concerning that. The other thing I do like about the game that I just noticed quickly is that robots with no really pickup ability can still greatly help an alliance by earning kind of that free climb, right? If they can push enough blocks into the slot and they can power up the levitation, and then being able to do that allows, since that kind of earns you a free climb. Or a free climb, it allows robots to keep playing longer in the game. So I kind of like that about that. And one question I did have, again, I really apologize, I'm behind you guys, is the point value, I know it's 1 point per second of ownership of the Switch. Is that the same as the scale as well?
Yes, I believe so.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so it's the same. So regardless of the scale or the Switch, equal points. So one's just bigger, basically. It's taller, right? So it's more difficult to do. But yeah, the same point values.
Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yeah, the point value is the same. Although I kind of looked at it as kind of the reverse. This game, especially compared to First Steamworks and even First Stronghold to an extent, this feels like the one where you can get it across to people off the street pretty quick. It's get your color, tipping the scales and the switches your way, and get robots up at the end. And everything else you can kind of fill them in as the game plays. It's a very quick game to kind of get people started on.
It has a quick overview.
I guess you're right. I understand that. It's always these little the nuances of the little things you wouldn't be able to notice. You're right. I do agree with you there, though. You're right.
Yeah, you can gloss over some of the more complicated aspects, and you'll still get the point across of the overall scoring aspects of the game, for the most part, to the latent viewer, I suppose.
So let's kind of go around here, and we'll hopefully get the caller queue popular. I know Zach's in that, so we'll bring him in a little bit. And Mike, feel free to stick around as long as you want, but we'd love to have your input. So let's go around the queue here, starting with Christine. And tell us about your initial thoughts and reactions to the game. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What about it? What about it is TSI MFD according to your hat about it?
Yeah, so at first, for me, the roles of the teams within the alliance seem pretty simple, but the strategy is going to be really crazy. Like Mike was saying, we discussed this before, there's going to be a line drawn in the sand finally of teams that are actually really capable of digesting a game and understanding strategy and iterating throughout the season, adapting their strategy during the match, from match to match, based on what they've seen other teams do, and really adapting to what's happening during the game. Not just saying, we're going to do 3 rotors in D. You really are going to have to adapt what your alliance is doing based on everything else that's going on. So having really good drive coaches and drivers that are aware of what's going on in a match, and human players, and I think the name is the technician, that are really paying attention to when they need to be doing their job is going to be really key. I think teams that kind of have gotten by and been successful by kind of watching week 1 and 2, and then adding on to the robot or copy pasta with different mechanisms and different strategies based on what they've seen are I think they're going to be a little further behind this year than they have been in the past. But I'm excited to see how week 1 starts off, and then how it evolves as we go, mid-season. And then I think Einstein is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, Christine, to go along with that, kind of what I said to you was, as these games progress, it's kind of easy to copy a mini bot, or easy to copy, this or that. But it's really, really hard to copy strategy and when people are going to deploy that. So I think this strategy I think is really what's going to separate people this year. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, definitely. I think at week 1, we're going to see a lot of matches that have not many, if any, teams capable of doing the scale in a consistent way. So you could see one or a very small pool of robots that can do the scale and then kind of sit back for the rest of the match.
Now, for clarification, for scale, you mean the climb or the physical teeter-totter?
Teeter-totter.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, these new terms are going to be tricky to kind of think about in the context of this game, as compared to previous years. So it should be interesting. I'm excited. There's clearly going to be no tie issues with ties this year, where we saw in week 1 last year where it was semifinals went to 8 matches because everybody was hitting 3 rotors and nothing else. So that's going to be awesome. I think that the game design committee really looked at the issues that we saw last year like that, and adjusted or made this year's game in a way where we're not going to be stuck watching the semifinals for 5 hours during week 1 and 2 events. So that should be good.
John and Bill, why don't you guys go next?
So I personally think this could be one of the more possibly the simpler games, at least in terms of manipulating the primary game element with the power cubes. I think you'll see a lot of teams approaching that maybe in a similar way. You won't really know until we get to the competitions, of course, but I think that we might see a lot of, possibly, if anybody's going to copy anything from one another, they might be copying that. I'm not quite sure yet. But I definitely agree that strategy-wise, this is probably the most complex. You got to pay attention to all the details kind of games. The people who, when you go out to use your bonuses with the force and with the double point bonuses, you're really going to have to coordinate your teammates on your alliance well to be able to take the most advantage of those bonuses. And that's something that I don't think we've seen in alliance play nearly as much. I guess aerial assist could be somewhat comparable with requiring coordination of a high level, but this could be another game way up there in that aspect. And then definitely this is going to be a really unique climbing game. And that's the end game period I'm referring to there, where it's going to be real easy for one person to get up, but then seeing the second or third get up, if they're trying to scale on their own, could be dicey, I suppose. But there's also the possibility of something from many years in the past returning. If any of you remember, was it 2007?
Yeah.
2007, you remember the ramp bots that were very common for, I believe it's rack and roll. I believe some variation of that could pop up again, but who knows?
Yeah, I think that's a very likely outcome. Just because 13 inches of bar, that's nothing for 3 robots to try and get a hold of. And I was kind of like you. I think really this is the first game since Aerial Assist where you could have kind of a low to mid resource team build kind of their a good tier robot and drive the wheels off of it and knock off some teams that are usually better than them. And that's just off drive practice, skill, and grit. which I personally I love it when you get the little rookie team. They built the kit drivetrain. They built a little something on top, and they just go and just tear it up, and get away with stuff that in a game like Recycle Rush or for Stronghold, they just can't quite keep the pace. So I saw this game, I was like, I was just so excited for it. I'm looking forward to seeing this game getting played.
Yeah.
Very cool. Sky, how about yourself? What are your reactions to this?
So I know it's kind of a rabbit hole digging back against and comparing this game to other games of the past. But the first thing that really struck me was the layout of the field. It's been a long time since we've had a game in which everybody can have a kind of a scoring objective on every single game element for the most part. So I mean, turning on and off switches or the scale in the middle is just, we haven't seen anything like this since I did a quick look through. And maybe you could count Rack and Roll on that, but that was one thing pretty much in the middle. But I think the biggest comparable game is Triple Play from 2005. So that's a few years back. The other thing that I really had looking into is I'm kind of curious to see, especially in week 1 and week 2, because we're doing back-to-back week 1 and week 2 events. See how that goes. How the modifier, the timing of the modifiers. I mean, I'm sure by the time we get to week 6, 7, and into district champs and champs, that there will be impeccable timing with the technician or whoever's hitting the button to get that to work out and coordinated defense and all that. But some of those modifiers might be devastating for like come behind victories in the week 1, week 2, week 3 events.
All right, I'm going to keep on moving here. PJ, let's go with you, and then we'll wrap up with myself and Ryan.
All right, so first thing, I'm actually about as far behind as Mike because I was at work till about 4:30 today, so I also am playing from behind. So, but for the most part, what I noticed as a referee, I look at rules first, and what I was looking at was what I think is going to become problems for teams. And I noticed that this game, as has become common, has about 2.5 safe zones. I'd say 2.5 because the blocking the exchange zone is like half a safe zone because if you hang out around there, you get the same count as a pin and all that. You can start to get fouls that way. So that's like half a safe zone. But then there's the null territory, which I see is probably going to be a huge problem for teams just driving past, ramming into people by accident, hitting people in their opponent's null territory. And then the platform zone in the end of the game, which similar to last year and even 2016, has free climbs and so a ton of points involved with fouls down there. So those were kind of what I was looking at as far as what my first reaction was I don't know, I always look at what are people going to screw up on the field that I have to worry about. And so those were sort of the big ones. I was looking for safe zones and I was looking for possession. Everything else is pretty standard, but overall, it's almost makes me happy that I've retired as a strategy mentor because now I don't have to make these calls and have to make decisions during matches and decide things that are very, very important. As exciting as it would be, at the same time, I'm kind of happy that I don't have to deal with that this year.
You can just critique other people's strategy.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's why I'm on fun, right?
Exactly. That's what you got to do.
Yes, that's my.
All right,
so that's kind of my quick look.
Got it. So Ryan, why don't you go and I'll be pretty quick with mine, and then we want to get to it. We definitely got a caller coming up, so let's give us your take on this.
So just right off the bat, really like the game, the aesthetics this year, the theme, just love it. One thing I caught on real quick, if you're a drive coach or you're a driver, operator, your sight lines are going to be terrible again this year.
Rip.
Seeing all the way across the field, it's going to be tough. Scoring on the opposite switch. So definitely keep that in mind. The other thing that I really like about this game is I think that every single team can contribute to an alliance fairly easily, regardless of your capabilities, right? So if you have a drivetrain, you can push power cubes into the player station, right, and help your alliance that way, deliver them to the vault. You can climb on the platform. You can cross the line in auto. There's very obtainable things for every team to do in this year's game, and I just love that when everyone can actually do something on an alliance.
I'll chime into that. I really like the aspect that any tier team can do something. I think that's really cool, right? And I think we're starting to see first games transition more and more to that. If you look at last year's Steamworks, most teams could at least score a gear or two. Not every team could, or a team could climb or something like that. And maybe not as reliably, but at least they could contribute some out of the alliance. Go back 2 years to 2016, you were able to cross over defenses fairly easily. So I think we're seeing that trend. We're seeing that trend that way where there's things for everybody to do. One thing I brought up, we talked about earlier, was I wonder with the autonomous, I'd like to get everybody's opinion on this real quick. In the autonomous mode, it's now worth a ranking point, right? Which is kind of interesting. Man, it's going to happen, that it's going to be championships, and XYZ team who's shooting for the number 1 seed is going to get paired up with a team who they try to get to have auto just to drive forward, and the damn robot's not going to drive forward and knock them out. So what are your guys' thoughts on autonomous with that? I mean, it's cool to have autonomous worth so much. 2015 it was worth a lot if you get the cans in the middle. But what are your guys' thoughts in regards? Give just a quick 30-second response or less in regards to autonomous. Ryan, go ahead.
So I think the 1 rank point is very obtainable. You just got to make sure your partners drive across the line and one of you can chuck a cube in the switch, right? I mean, that should be low-hanging extra rank point fruit. The other one, a little more difficult, but auto, I think, everyone should be able to at least throw 5 points at your auto score this year.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'll go next. I think that it's going to be a lot like 2016, where you see the really high-level teams are going to have, different autos that they can kind of use based on what their alliance partners are. Kind of like people had different autos for the different defenses. So I think we're going to see that. And like you said, we're going to see teams that are going to be running around the pits, making sure that their alliance partners all can at least cross the line to get that ranking point.
I'm a little interested in the fact that there's more field management system data available, supposedly, anyway, for autonomous. So maybe some of those multifaceted autonomouses will be easier for the more average team.
Yeah, I was reading into this is kind of funny to me. If you are a avid Chief Delphier, you know about all the hype behind vision systems that were coming up for this season. If you look at this game and you look at autonomous, you look at the possibilities for programming, vision seems to be severely lacking in terms of what you could potentially do that could really give you a huge benefit. And the small things you'd think, okay, maybe vision could help you here. The field management system is passing variables to you about like the color of the switch and stuff like that. So it's really surprising that you really probably won't see any vision systems that give somebody a huge competitive edge this year, in my opinion.
I kept on waiting for that vision tape that they mention every single year to show up, and not really.
And then I guess tangentially, auto, I guess I don't have a ton of opinions, but just speaking of ranking points, what I noticed this year that's unique ever since you've been able to gain extra ranking points is that those don't convert into scores in eliminations, which I thought was interesting. Just something to take note of, 16 and 17, your 4-rotor bonus turned into the 100 points once you got into elims. This year, it means nothing once you get past quals, which I just thought was an interesting change.
All right, guys, so let's bring on, we do have a caller, one of our longest subscribers, Zach, Dark Zach in the chat, who actually just passed this year's subscriber, so thanks, buddy. Hey, welcome on, Zach. How's it going?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Good. Do you mind speaking up just a bit for us?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's all right. So, Zach, you're a senior this year, right, if I remember correctly?
Junior.
Okay. So, going to this game, when you see Power Up, are you excited about what you're seeing? How does it compare to the other games that you've experienced so far?
I like this year about all the strategy involved. It's really strategy based. Like you have to each match. I don't think we'll see too many matches that are the same, even congruently, but maybe you will. But I also like the randomness for the auto with the switch. Like each color is different, and the defensive aspects that could be in play from based on what my team has been looking at.
So what are you guys, for host-wise, what do you guys think about what Zach just said there?
I really agree with the defense aspect of it, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's all a score differential, right? So maybe if your alliance doesn't have the ability to hit those real high numbers due to climbs or excessive amounts of cubes passed through the alliance wall, maybe you work on slowing the other team down to keep that switch in a neutral or not scoring position, and hit it in the last little bit.
What's interesting to me about defensive or thinking defensively is this game, seems based on, like we've got our whole video game thing. It seems based on, the old school, or any sort of modern, you grab your base and you hold it for longer than your opponent, type deal. So I think we're going to start to see, especially in Elands, it's going to be, a team triggers the switch, the other team triggers a switch, you defend your switch, and then it's all going to come down to what's the center one called? The scale. Yeah, so it's it's potentially, so I think defense is going to be very heavy. I don't know if I think it's going to be similar to every game ever, where there will be defense a little bit in quals, but once we get to elims, defense is going to get very high. Even though I know RI3D Indiana doesn't think there's any defense in Indiana, but.
Well, hey Zach, we appreciate you coming on and giving a piece. Anything else you want to talk about the game? Like, do you think this is a winner right here, Zach? I got to ask you. I mean, is Power Up going to be what we've been looking for quite some time?
At first, it was kind of, I don't know, but going more in depth to it, I think it's going to be a fun game. But the one more thing I have to add, the scary thing, is I think it's called the null zone or the neutral zone, where the scale, if you hit a robot there, isn't it like a tech foul? When you're trying to cross the line, if you accidentally bump a robot inadvertently, I think I read that.
Yeah. Anybody know? Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, so if you touch an opponent robot in that null zone, it's a tech foul. So that's 25-point penalty this year. So it's a pretty big foul.
So that's going to be interesting. So one other thing I want to mention, there's a couple other things we want to mention, and we're gonna wrap this up pretty quick here. But since we have a couple of refs on the line, fouls and tech fouls and that sort of thing, how is this comparing to previous years? What are teams really going to have to look out for? Oh, I think you're muted, PJ.
There we go. Pressing the wrong push to talk button.
That happened.
So. Anyway, I guess just from a ref perspective, as I sort of mentioned, the safe zones are going to be big. Another one that I noticed when I was sort of perusing the rules is you can't contact, you can't like knock power cubes out of the opponent's power cube zone, whatever it's called. And I think there's a huge chance, especially if if with the sight lines in this game and just with it being there's a huge chance for teams to accidentally start hitting their cubes out of the field, which I think that one's just a foul. But even that, it's a foul per cube. So if you accidentally go plowing through and knock 4, cubes out, it's going to be a lot of fouls real fast. But overall, looking at the rules, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Very similar rules to past years. Like I said, pinning rules the same. The Auton rules the same, just with different zone names. The possessing rule is the same as it's been since 2014, like what defines a possession. Everything's pretty standard. I just don't know. That doesn't mean people aren't going to mess up, let me put it that way. But I think it should be a relatively easy game to get the rules down, learn the rules, and keep yourselves playing clean matches.
All right. One other thing I want to bring up, and Zach, thanks for calling, by the way. We're gonna let you go. Good luck to you during the season as well. All right, man?
Yep, thank you. Thanks for having me on. See you guys.
Actually, let's. We got a couple other people bringing in, so let's bring in some other callers on here as well. So just make sure we're going to bring in the unofficial fourth. So make sure you unmute your microphone there, and we'll get you on. We'll give him a minute there. Always, we'll bring on somebody else. We do this stuff quick here. Little patience. All right, next person. Sorry. Let's try Brendan. Brendan, welcome on the show.
Hello.
Hey,
Glad
how's it going? Yeah, hey, what team are you from, man?
Team 1495.
14. What's the team name? Where are you from?
So I'm getting a little bit lag. I can hear now.
Okay. What's your team name? Where are you from?
I'm from Team 1495. We are in Pennsylvania.
All right, for sure. All right. Team 1495, the team name, Team 1495 of Pennsylvania. How are you feeling about the game so far, Brennan? What is this your first year? How long you been in it, and what's your experience with Power Up so far?
This is my second year. I'm a junior. I'm really excited for this game. I think it offers a unique challenge in the way the scoring is. I think it'll be very different than some past games, and it'll be harder to find one definitive strategy that's going to work every time. It's going to require a lot faster reactions and a lot more attention to what's happening on the field than previous years.
Makes sense to me. So, what is when you look at previous years like Steamworks last year? How do you think like the competition level is going to compare between this year and last year? Is it something that all robots can still compete quite well, or are we going to find some difficulties at work in last year's game?
I think any robot will be able to compete at least in some way. I see the biggest bottleneck being climbing. It's going to be hard to get all those robots up there, so people are going to have to be really creative about how the robot gets onto that objective. Otherwise, even if a robot can't do much, they can push it into the bottom, they can use the low goal. Really, it'll be making a robust robot and how you use it.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Hey, we got a fielder caller, so I appreciate you calling in. Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
I think that's about it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thanks for watching the show, and good luck to you this season.
Thanks.
All right, we'll get another call. We'll take a couple more calls. We're gonna give the unofficial fourth another try here. So hopefully his mic's not muted. There we go. What's up, buddy?
Hello. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, why don't you give everybody your name, what team number, and your team name? Where are you from?
Hey, my name is Carl.
Hi, Carl. Where are you from, buddy?
I'm from Lafayette, Indiana.
Well, not too far away from right.
One second, I'm getting a call back on you. Okay. So, okay, now I'm back on.
Yeah, guys, if you
so
call in, make sure you mute your Twitch mic or mute your Twitch stream.
Okay. Yep, I'm good. So I'm from Lafayette, Indiana. I used to be part of 1747. I now mentor 1646.
Woo! Precision guesswork.
There you go. Yeah, good team. Absolutely.
Boiler up.
Boiler up, baby. So, what are your feelings on the game so far? Give us your takedown on Power Up.
So I think this game is going to be a really awesome game. I think there's a lot of potential for some really interesting strategy. I'm a big strategy guy myself. I think the two most interesting things I've kind of thought about recently, number one is I think that auto is one of the most important parts of this game. The biggest thing is something we noted is that if both alliances score 6 cubes each, the person who wins is the person who scored those 6 first, because the other 6 that were scored were just to balance them out equally. So if you have equal capacity to score as your opponent, whoever scores them first is going to win, and that is best done within auto. Another thing that I felt was very interesting is you guys were talking about the vision, and I think vision's actually going to be important this year, mainly because it is a lot harder to find uses for its implementation. Once you do find those uses, I think that's going to give teams a fairly big competitive edge, also including with the cycle times and how you can speed those up faster.
Yeah, so that's a great point. How you were talking about how important autonomous is this year. I think 100% agree, because not only if you get the scale or you get the switch right at the start, you'll go into teleop with it, and you're already at a huge advantage. Your opponents have to overcome that at the start of teleop. This game's about momentum, I think, and how do you shift momentum from one alliance to the other. Sometimes the power-ups can do that, right? But definitely, if you can start with a lead and then pile it on, it's going to be hard to beat that, really. So.
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that?
I guess it almost reminds me of 2015 in that way, where it was a lot of the matches, especially at the higher levels, were almost decided in auton by who grabbed the cans first. So I guess it's
let's not decide these matches in less than 1/10 of a second, please.
Yeah, seriously. But it's still an interesting thing to see that high-level teams will always get, I think, the most benefit out of autonomous, and that will always ensure them, the teams that take the most benefit out of autonomous will always ensure them the higher ranking seeds at the end of the qualification tournament.
All right. Hey, Carl, thanks for calling in, buddy. We appreciate it, and good luck to you this season, all right?
Thanks. See you guys around.
All right, we're going to bring in 2 more people, and then we're going to do the giveaway that we have from 1720, which are these, what are these called again, Ryan?
Those are bat hawks.
Bat hawks.
Hawks, like the bird.
Like the bird, all right. So we got a set of these that are awesome in the pinch of a moment, especially in the playoffs, right? You got to make sure your batteries are good to go. And as well, that winner will also have be drawn in as a finalist for a RoboReel giveaway thanks to National Instruments. So, guys, we're in trouble here. I just want to tell you right now, we got Caltran coming in. And you know what that means. It's big trouble. But he's on the air right now. Caltran, what's up? You there, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
There he is, the one in the
Hi,
only.
Caltran.
Hey.
All right, Cal, give us your breakdown on Power Up.
This game is interesting. I like that as it currently looks like it's an easy game to build for, hard game to master. And I know the thing that I'm interested in is how teams are going to do the scouting for it, because my inclination would be scout for abilities, not necessarily points scored.
So
Yeah.
what is everybody else's thoughts on scouting? Let's just give real quick answers because we're running short on time, but scouting's going to be quite interesting, right?
By far the most complex I've seen in a while.
Scouting, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be based on merit, like Caltran said. Putting a cube in a cube in any of the spots consistently is going to be key, and we all know consistency is the thing that wins championships. So
It's going to be interesting to try to scout which alliances or which teams use the power-ups at the correct time. And that may be more feedback from your drive team on, if your partners were very aware of when to hit that button, because if someone hits it at the wrong time, it could totally hose your match.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm. Maybe have dedicated people for that.
So I guess I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier and just go with I'm happy I'm not in charge of it anymore in regards to scouting.
So I've got to ask the question, by the way, just because of screw up. So last year we had issues with people yelling to rope all the time. Is there going to be people are like, push levitate, and then they hit the wrong button or something like that?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be just like that,
Forget
right?
to push it.
Yeah.
They put them in and they just didn't hit the button.
Yeah, what are we gonna replace screaming rope with this year? I guess at our board game players.
Yeah, button. It's gonna be button.
Button, yeah.
Yeah, that's
anything. So.
All right. Hey, Caltran, thanks for calling in once again. One of our longest subscribers. So thank you so much for all your support and calling in. Good luck, man. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, buddy.
Bye, Caltran.
Bye, Cal.
All right, guys. We're gonna take one last caller here, and then we're gonna wrap it up and do that giveaway. So let's bring in. We got Brandon the Fish. That's his screen name, at least on Discord. Brandon, you there?
Hello.
How's it going, man?
It's pretty good.
Good. Why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit? What team you're on? Where you're from? That sort of thing.
All right. So I'm from Team 5697 from Bridgeport, Michigan, the Bridgeport Bearcats. It's actually only my second year, but so I'm fairly new. But I think I've settled in the atmosphere pretty well.
All right. So what's your take on Power Up? I mean, it's only your second year, but there's still a lot to take away between Steamworks and this year's game. So how are you feeling about Power Up so far?
I think pretty much every game is going to be drastically different because each robot is going to have to at least do two things. They're going to be, placing their gear, and then when they have possession of one of those switches or scales, they're going to be in an entirely different mode from getting it, and then, they have to go on the defense. So, each player is going to have to be actively doing multiple things instead of just, drive over there, get a gear, come back, drive over there, get a gear. Once we have possession, it's going to be a matter of holding it or getting those power-ups.
How do the rest of the hosts feel about what he was just saying there? I mean, is that going to hold true? Maybe. In deep thought.
Don't all react at once. But I guess I do see what you're saying about, because it's not about the number you score, it's about how long you have. Like you're saying, you could theoretically score 3 cubes throughout an entire match and win. Like, there's nothing to stop you from. You could score 1 cube and win with defense being played right. You could score no cubes and win in all of these scenarios. There's various scenarios to win by all kinds of different scoring. But yeah, if you can control like the switch and the middle thing throughout the whole match with 1 cube on each of them, you just stop them from putting any on there. I mean, like, you don't need to be able to score a lot to win this game, which is unique in first games in my memory.
Yeah, and that echoes what we've been talking about and comes up every year about strategy and how drivers are a good driver with an average or a subpar bot is better than a bad driver with a spectacular bot, right?
Yep.
Being able to control the field and knowing where to be is incredibly valuable.
All right, hey, thanks so much for calling in, Brandon. Best of luck to you guys up in Michigan. We'll definitely be checking. We got a lot going on for Michigan later on.
Thank you very much.
I would say I'll be seeing you in Kettering, so don't mess up or I'll call you.
Wow.
Awesome. Good luck, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we got time for one more. So there was one person. I think they were trying to join. So we'll see if they are or not. But if they hop in, we'll let them do that. If not, we'll go from there. So let me, as we start to wrap up here, guys, we're going to start. Actually, let's start the giveaway first and do that. So Mr. Donio here from Team 1720, we got to have a keyword for today.
Yeah, so since we're doing Power Up, and we had some Purdue people on the call, I think we got to do Boiler Up.
Boiler Up. One word, though, we'll do.
Word.
So boil. Is that it? How I did it?
Is
that right?
it.
So Boiler Up is going to be the keyword. So type in Boiler Up in the chat. You do have to follow or be a sub. Subs get 5 times chance to win, but start spamming Boiler Up as many times. Even like, I'm a Wisconsinite, so I have a little bit of a problem typing in Boiler Up, but good thing I can't win, at
It's
least.
probably painful for some people.
Yeah,
I would say I come from a family of U of M fans, M being Michigan.
Absolutely. So it doesn't look like TJP is going, so we'll let that happen. So, guys, let's just do around the horn. One last thing, some final comments about Power Up. We'll have a lot more to talk about it as we get through the season as well, too. So, Ryan, you want to start first? Give some final thoughts about Power Up and how you're feeling about it?
I just think it's a really awesome game. I think there's a lot of ways to play it. Really stress to the teams, read through the rules, make sure you understand it, and just, there's lots of ways to contribute. So you don't necessarily have to overreach in this game. Just do something and do it well, and you're going to have a really good competition season if you do that.
Awesome. Christine, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm going to echo what Ryan said about the rules. Make sure that everybody on your team knows the rules. 1678 just posted a great rules quiz that if you're looking for an easy way to, get everybody on board and kind of test them throughout the season on what they know about the rules, you can definitely go check that out. It's on the Compass Line. It's on Sheep Delphi, but definitely go give that a look. I'm excited to see strategy. This was our lead strategy student's face today when he learned the game. So it was, I think that was everybody's reaction. Like, if you pan over to the other kids that were sitting next to him, that's really how I feel about this game. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see it play out because it's so different than any other game we've seen so far. And I'm excited that there's milk crates because I'm going to steal them all from my classroom after the season's over. So good stuff.
Those aren't tax deductible anymore. Keep that in mind.
Ooh.
That's fine.
All right, John, go ahead, and if you still got Bill Frey with you, you can go ahead too.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be really, really interesting. For those of you who participate or partake in the FTC, you'll remember a few years ago with FTC Block Party, we have some experiences with balances and cubes. So I expect those kids that graduated from FTC on FRC teams around this point, maybe they're juniors or seniors, they're going to have some experiences that could help them a lot with this year's game. But yeah, just make sure to read the manual several times. That's what I have my students do on my team, and get as much practice as you possibly can driving your robot. There's nothing that can replace the experience you need from just getting your hands behind the controls and driving as much as you can.
All right, Sky, go ahead.
So at first glance, it looks like First has done an excellent job at trying to balance this game in as many ways as possible, pun intended. So you're using the whole field, and we'll see how the rules play out, but it just feels really, really well-rounded in comparison to some of the other stuff we've seen.
PJ, let's wrap up with you, and then I'll give kind of final thoughts here.
All right. I mean, they all took the ref's answer of, make sure you know the rules. So I guess I got to come up with the new answer. But I guess specifically, make sure everybody on your team understands what's happening. That's a big thing I've noticed is you never know who's going to talk to judges. You never know who's, if you have people scouting in the stands, they need to understand the game. If you have people in the pit talking to judges, they need to understand the game, understand your robot. Have people in the stands understand your robot. Just make sure everybody is on the same page, I guess, is always my biggest piece of advice, because that is the downfall of so many teams that I've seen, is just people not all being on the same page. Like, that doesn't mean you have to be happy with every decision that's made, but you need to, come to some kind of consensus, especially in these early days of build. So I guess that's my piece of advice / final thought.
I think you might be muted there, Tyler.
Yeah, I can tell who's just
Even Tyler mutes himself. Look at them all. Wow. All right, let's try it again. So we're gonna do the giveaway. I was getting so excited for the giveaway. Rookie scrub right here. So, but the Bat Hawk, this is pretty cool. So you can get these on AndyMark.com. And this is 1720. You guys use this as a fundraiser. Is that right?
Yeah. A portion of the funds go back to 1720, help us operate. So big thanks to AndyMark for partnering with us and our students. Assembly line style manufacture these, so they're putting in the sweat equity, and it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And our winner for today, hey, he's won a couple times before because he is a subscriber and gets 5 times as many chances. Said 1458. Congratulations, you have won not only the Bat Hawk here, but also you are a finalist to win a Robo Rio from National Instruments. We'll be giving that away on Tuesday. So, guys, by the way, if you want more chances to win the Robo Rio, we have 2 shows tomorrow, a show on Monday and a show on Tuesday that will get you a ticket in. So make sure you enter for that. And we want to thank 1720 for the awesome giveaway. Just to wrap up, we're going to be giving away another set of those too.
Yeah, we got another set. I think tomorrow sometime you'll give them away.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow as well. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's subscribed as well too. We're growing and growing here, and all we ask is that if you like what we do, just tell somebody about it. If you get a chance, click that little follow button. We'd appreciate it. If you don't have enough money to subscribe or anything like that, that's fine. Click the follow button. Come back later. We know we'll get you when you got a chance. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to switch back over to the Robot in 3 Days stream in just a little bit. Team Indiana is actually pretty much wrapped up here, but we're going to be showing other streams throughout the night.